Flight boss, bitch, you know, for sure. You're not listening to the Mind of an Antares Moon. I am the Royal Archangel Uriel, and I'm here to carry out God duties and motherfucking responsibilities. And check this out. This little short video right here is going to be about Jesus dying at the age of 33. Now, for the most part, this is Masonic math, numerology concepts. Now, you have to understand, when you Western hemisphered out and things of that nature, you may find yourself using in forms of linguistics and language in the context that we use it in now, and trying to frame it in what things was meant 2,000 years ago. But for the most part, 2,000 years ago had a certain way of conveying messages, as far as thinking about the light from a speculative perspective, the math based upon the hieroglyphics and the cuneiform, and as above so below, creating a clock and creating different words to understand different terms of clocks and ages and times that the body actually go through, as far as 666 and things of that nature. Becoming 18 years old, the age of man, and it could go into time and 24 hours into a whole bunch of other correlations with the 888 and a whole bunch of other circumstances, the 777, the age of 21. But here's the thing. You have to look at it from that context, because any other book that's written in those same times going to be received within that context if you're going to understand the information that's being conveyed. So you can't get lost into the way the government is conveying things now into your way of trying to suit your bias based on a text that was made 2,000 years ago. So you have to keep things within their context. Now, so when we understand Jesus dying at 33, first you have to understand math, and you have to understand the starting point and the correspondence. The start, before we gave it a name and a title like God or seconds or minutes and things of that nature in Horus or Jesus, you have to know what we're actually pointing to. So when we think about 33, we're talking about sun transitions and different speculative concepts of esoteric astrology from the Jewish perspective, right? Now, here's the thing. When you get into Masonry, that's building the mind to understand the external world. So you can understand it as above, so below. How does this relate into you? So that's the whole starting point of the correspondence of anthropomorphizing, magical thinking. It's speculatism, speculating, but from a spiritual perspective, right? So this is where the Illuminati, enlightened illuminations come from, the luminaries. So keep that in mind. You have to understand, follow the practice. Don't get so lost into the words or the money or the history, you will fail to realize what's actually going on in front of you. And then, even if you want to teach something to other individuals, you will have right correspondences where you can stand corrected, because your correspondence makes sense with other texts other than fighting text with text. You're able to understand the text in fully as is. Now, so once it gets into the concept of Jesus dying at the age of 33, this is us tracking the sun at a particular time, coming up with different metaphors of when the sun actually leave a certain transition and give birth, aka give light, to another transition. So when we talk about there's 90 days operative astronomy, 90 degrees astrology speculative, that corresponds to a season. So there's 90 days per season, 90 degrees per season. But each 90 days, right, you have each section of it, 30 days, 30 days, 30 days. And each of these 30 days represents a cardinal, fixed, and mutable portion of that season. You see what I'm saying? So when we get into the sun dying and being born again, we just have a specific version of a shadow government creating a colony and creating a government over that sun transition over that Western hemisphere that match more with the West or the left end, or from the 7th through the 12th house. So when we go into Capricorn right now, and you have a certain fashion of government worshiping that, they're worshiping that dying and ascending again for 3 days. But 0 degrees Capricorn, or the beginning of winter operative, right? NASA, we know that's when they're pointing to as a correspondence when the sun died and when it rise again on December 23rd, right? So for the most part, that's an operative NASA astronomy, right? Concepts of it beginning of winter. But in astrology, based on how religion is created, that's the beginning circumference point of Capricorn. And soon as it get into 3 degrees Capricorn, the sun is fully born into the Capricorn energy. When it's in 2 degrees Capricorn, 1 degree Capricorn, 0 degrees Capricorn, it's still in the phase of the cusp. So it's going through the transition of death, but it hasn't fully died yet to be reborn. So when you think about in astrology, which is how religion was created, when you understand this esoteric numerology mathematics from a gematria aspect and Jewish mysticism, how these things was built, 0 is counted as 1 when the sun goes into a sign. So 0 to 29 degrees is actually 30. Then once the sun go into 0 degrees of the other sign, right, you count that as 1. Again, you count 1 degree of the other sign as 2, and you count 2 degrees of the other sign as 3. And that is 33. That is the age of 33. And remember, it is not a sequence of a triplicity number. It's a dual number, so we're corresponding it to a micro stage. So for them, because if it's 666, that'd be the year of 18. You see what I'm saying? But when we correspondence it in mathematics and how they correspond letters with numbers back in the day, is this 2 dual. So when we get 33, it is a correspondence to the sun actually fully dying out of the previous sign and fully being born in the next sign. You see what I'm saying? Once it reached that 3rd degree of a sign, which make 5 the equilibrium. 0, 28, 29, 1 and 2 degrees of a sign makes that orb, which is a cusp. When you bring it into the moon phase of it, or the mini mansion phase of it, or the Saktra phase of it, when you understand how astrology is created in the first place, based on the as above, so below, houses, tropical, and corresponding to seconds and minutes with the female, feminine energy, and the hours to the man, the masculine energy, Horus, and then us correlating the hours, the minutes, and the seconds to create our micro version of a clock. So how we can understand things from a speculative perspective, how we're understanding it from an operative perspective outside of us as far as the transits of these things. So for the most part, when we get into Jesus dying at 33, that is because at 33, that is the 2nd degree of a zodiac sign, and is being fully reborn, being fully out of the cusp of that sign once it reached 3 degrees. And for the most part, this is what the Masons are practicing based upon 33 degree Mason. And as far as their practices, also when they reach that stage of learning about the things of the organ up here, when they reach their 1st degree and 2nd degree, which is dealing with the dick and the pussy area, the balls, and then the 2nd degree, which is the heart area, and then you all up the 3, 5, 7 stairs from the Aquarius to Aries, leading up to Taurus, Pleiades, when you get to your constellation Bow that they worship, from the throat chakra up here to help you understand the organs and the chakras and the pineal gland that bent in on itself to make those the first eye and the crown chakra to make those organs, which the kind of Mason practice you will start to get into to understand about yourself at 33, the 33 degree Mason. But for the most part, that's helping you understand the concepts and the correspondences so you can stand corrected. And when someone asks you this, is this not something that you make up in a figment of your imagination based on someone else's pyramid scheme that men and women were actually here creating things in their mind to actually practice, and you just claiming in your own mind it has something to do with some superhero you getting ready to create that's piggybacking off somebody's actual system that they're actually doing to actually run the world. See what I'm saying? And I love y'all from the bottom of my heart.